Well, this is a site of what was potentially two subdivisions to put two houses up in this region here. We're at the back of the Otford pie shop, and the history of it was that Wollongong City Council opposed it, and it went to the Land Environment Court because it was challenged by the people that owned this, and what happened was that Wollongong Council actually won the court case and it was thrown out. The essence of the situation is that if these houses had gone in, there would have been two major factors causing clearing. One, there would have been a large amount of clearing for the actual houses themselves. You can just have a look out there and see the density of the vegetation, and you can also see the slope. So there would have been a large number of trees there that would have gone, quite a large volume of them would have gone to put the houses in. And second, being a west-facing hill, there would have been further clearing for a asset protection zone, and so it was knocked out. What's of contention now is that Wollongong Council, in the light of this 7D review, is planning on almost a total about face and zoning this as environmental protection E4, which would give it the same, will allow the same density of dwellings as we have over here. And you can just see, you can imagine just how much vegetation. You can see the remnant gum trees at the back, the remnant amount of vegetation that we had there to start with, and there's been a large amount used for here. If you apply that across this forest, across to this region, one of the protagonists, one of the one of the two landowners was saying that he was going to establish rainforest in this region. Well, we'll have a look. There is rainforest down there, but if you clear all this region here, you create a very, very open space, and what will happen is the moisture that is there will be lost. There will be just a big opening. We'll get a lot of sea breezes which will just suck the water out of there, and by drying off this region, by opening it up and drying it off, then of course you then preclude the effect of getting rainforest there. If rainforest is going to develop, you need a buffer before you actually get to the opening. As you can see, there's a huge opening up the top of the hill there. So that's the essence of the problem. Well, here we are in the rainforest area. It is pretty much rainforest area, just down from Domville Road where we were, and this shows the significance of this area in terms of just natural bush. There are some weeds spread amongst it, but pretty much what you're seeing is a natural. This is one of the gullies that's just so important to the lifeblood of the Hacking River, because when it rains here, the deluge is immense. This region here would flash flood. It is all soft narrabeen soils, and you can see that all this would fill up, and you'd have plenty of flow down here. Now, the big concern is Wollongong Council is actually proposing all this area goes to E4, sit on a map and make the whole of Otford Central E4. We have repeated examples of chopping up areas like this, putting a house on it, where what happens is devastation to this sort of vegetation. This sort of, the whole region for creating 7D was to protect the water quality of the Hacking and to preserve the remnant rainforests in the upper part of the Hacking catchment. The National Park is the bottom 80%, and it's the top 20%, which happens to be in Wollongong Council's control, where there's private ownership, where forest and vegetation like this, if it gets trampled, it'll have significant effects on the water quality, on the vegetation and the health, the biodiversity of the whole national park. This is the wildlife corridor region. Now, if this goes to E4, you would have clearance to put the house, you would have further clearance to as asset protection zones to stop for bushfires. And what's significant is if the housing goes in at the top of the hills, when this region is naturally moist. If you remove the vegetation at the top of the hill, such as up near the shop where that Wollongong Council won that battle in the Environment Court to stop the housing going through, If you actually clear that top region and put the house in, and then clear around the back of it to create an asset protection zone, what you do is you open up that top part, that particularly this day and age, when this time of year when we're getting cold westerly winds coming into a valley like this and taking the moisture and moving up to the top of the hill, if there's natural vegetation there, it forms a cap. And what it does is it keeps the moisture in this region. If you start opening it up by removing the trees, particularly the top of the hill, for asset protection zones and houses, and so really changing the continuum of the bush, then what happens is it's like taking the cap off a bottle. You open it up, so what will happen is all this moisture will just funnel up and just pour over the side of the hill, as it does with the westerlies, and this whole region will dry out. So you're going to get so much environmental devastation. That's why it's worth preserving.